Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Badgers Lounge. This was brought to you today by QCOM LLC. It's an excellent choice for a variety of IT solutions, including computer, laptop repair, diagnostics, troubleshooting, installation, repair, sales of new and refurbished systems, install, deinstall of computer server hardware. You can contact them at 404 907 5886 or email at qjones@qcom.tech. So the topic for today is honoring the spirit within. Um, I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts and shows and things like that, and most of you guys that probably know me know I'm on the Morning Glow with these awesome with DKM Media. In the mornings and things like that, and Real Men Being Men on Tuesday evenings. Um, and it's a topic that weighs really heavy on me of respecting the spirit within not just yourself, but in other people. Um, and realizing what's toxic and not toxic. It's actually interesting. On Twitch, there is a another streamer um, called Josh Straight Up, and he actually was talking about toxicity and stuff, and I thought it was just awesome. It was just one of those things. Just seems like that's the topic for today. In a lot of areas and a lot of platforms. Um, and I found it absolutely fascinating of how many people probably don't even know what that means. Um, Leonard, to you, what does respecting the spirit within mean?
Well, to me, it means a couple of things. It's not so general to me. I believe that it's like respecting humanity, whether or not someone, it may, the humanity of a person more so than the spirit of a person. It is their character. I think when we say the spirit of a person, it's unique, but it is separate from me to that type of thing. Because I know I have a being, I respect your being. We just happen to be humans. So we have that bond with humanity. Some people call it humanity. Well, one, if it's a spirit. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's what makes us human that I'm assuming that you're getting to.
Part of the equation, yeah.
Okay. But that's kind of what it means to me. And toxic is something we are saying now for anything that is unpleasant. So we've watered it down a bit.
I guess I still use it in the old way then.
Right. We water it down a bit by using it so much. Because sometimes things are just, you're not going to like everything.
Yeah,
And it's going to be unpleasant. But it's not necessarily toxic. When we say toxic, I think we're using it, especially when we use it for something non-tangible, like like in an area that's some poisonous gas or something like that. We're opening it up a lot, and we're using it. Are we using it too much now? Are we using it just to say something is unpleasant? Because don't you think there's a difference between the two words, toxic and unpleasant?
absolutely.
Yeah,
I do, at
yeah.
least.
Toxic seems a lot more serious to me, and I think it should be used for serious issues and not just the simple things that we don't like.
Yeah, I will see. Like to me, I view toxic as telling telling someone that because of their race or mental disorder or physical disorder that they're less than. They're just whatever negative things you can think of and treat them as such. To me, that's toxic.
Yeah, looking at it
How,
from that point of view of being poisonous.
yes,
Yeah.
to me, that's toxic. Being
Yes.
poisonous is toxic.
Yes.
Going, well, you can't have this job because you're autistic, or you can't have this job because you're black. That's an inconvenience, and that just lets you know that that person, if you did work there, would have probably ended up being a poisonous person to you.
Right.
So just walk away before it gets toxic.
Hmm.
I think we have Donald on the phone line as well. What is your view or opinion of respecting the spirit within? Donald, are you there?
Uh, yeah. I got echo. But anyway, it was two things you said: toxic and what?
I forget how to pronounce the
Said
word, Leonard.
talking about
What?
said it was toxic
Or
and
or
something.
toxic as opposed to something unpleasant.
Okay, yes, okay. So I can deal with unpleasantness if that's a word, or I mispronounced the word. Toxic, I would want to avoid altogether.
Right.
Now, here's the deal about people, human beings. We're different. I don't have to uh, um, kind of shun you just because you're different. That don't make it toxic. This is just me, okay? When it becomes toxic is when you try to infiltrate what you really, um, the difference that we have on me. That don't have nothing to do with me. I can't live according to the way you think, or you can't live the way that, or I can't make you. I can't just bum rush you with what I believe. That can be toxic. In fact, religion can be toxic. That is toxic. Religion is toxic. Righteousness is not. To be loving and caring and godly, that's not toxic. But religion is. I say that because that's a point of view. That's a doctrine. That's a belief that don't necessarily have to be true. That's just true to you. And a lot of times, what we try to do is we try to make others believe solely based on what we believe. And when they don't, it causes friction. And friction can cause people to clash. And that way, that's the reason why you have so much of a jacked up society, because that's what we're doing now. We're infiltrating each other, and it causes us to live in a toxic environment. I don't have to believe what you believe. I would point out, and I'm gonna shut up. There are certain groups that want you to accept them. You don't have to accept me. I don't have to accept you. But we can live together in harmony if we respect each other.
I can respect that. You know, now my viewpoint of respecting the spirit within is tied to what we talked about, last week or the week before, being responsible to others and for yourself, for your actions. Because I am a firm believer that how you choose to live your life through your actions and words can affect everyone around you. Everything, not just people. but just everything around you. Mowing the grass too short can kill your grass. Not mowing it long enough. Learning how to space when you mow affects how your yard looks, affects how everything grows. Watering your garden, not watering your garden. um, you know, so to me, respecting the spirit within is a very in-depth concept when I use that phrase, because to me, everything is of spirit, is of creation that was created, by great spirit, the source, creator, God. Um, and it weighs really heavy on me most all the time of how a lot of people will hurt things or other human beings, animals, and things like that just for greed, selfish reasons, um, trauma, things of that nature. And to me, the looking, seeing the through my perspective, it's kind of how I see the world. Leonard, what do you think on that?
Well, I don't think I go so far as when it becomes a burden to me. I'm not going to allow something. I'm just not going to allow certain things to become a burden to me, and I'm worrying about other things to the point where it becomes a burden. Is something I don't really get involved with. Some things are the way they are simply because of their relationship to creation. Outside of me, I'm not everything. I'm not a part of everything. So, I'm not sitting here worried about a lot of things that other people may worry about. I am generally concerned with something that has the potential to be negative. But then again, it's not my responsibility solely to do anything or to change anything. All I can do is my part.
So, are you saying that like you're choosing to be responsible for how you interact,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is your viewpoint or your way of living, that of um, promoting positivity, or um, I'm not sure what the term is for. Is it activism? Or maybe
Well,
I'm adding a
it's
word
it
that I
is
shouldn't.
it is activism,
Okay.
but what it also is, it's a lot more to deal with doing my share, I call that doing my share. My contribution to the whole may be activism. It's like, say, for instance, recycling. There are certain people I know who recycle because they've heard about the damage that all of this excess is causing in the oceans. And we know if we poison our oceans, we poison a staple food like fish and things
Yeah.
of that nature. So, there's various levels, but it's not, I don't carry that weight on my shoulders. I try to contribute to a positive coalition of things. One, I can't be solely responsible for polluting the oceans.
Hmm.
But then again, I can't be ready to jump off a bridge because they polluted.
I can respect that because I'm not jumping off a bridge for it either.
Right, right,
I'm going to try to like be an activist about it
right.
and uplift it in a positive manner
Yes, when you
to
see a way.
contribute to the whole when I see a way.
Yes, yes, when you see a way. So I think that's what it is. But one, I'm not in despair over a lot of things the way some people are just in despair about
I
certain
think
things.
if it becomes destructive to yourself, it can inadvertently miscue the message behind it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can understand that point of view as well because there are various things that what we say in Buddhism hinders you from being your best self, and by addressing those hindrances and practicing a practice that don't allow these hindrances to stop you from getting to better places, you practice of just becoming aware of what it is, why it is, and what can you do to change it. And then don't identify with it. Some things are just behaviors, they're not who you are. And you have to separate yourself from something that is causing you some negative pain or what have you. You have to separate yourself from that situation. You're not the situation. I think that's what's most important. So things, you're not carrying this weight, as Christians would refer to understanding that put your burdens on the Spirit of God because He can carry those things for you.
Hmm.
That's
And
a practice.
yeah, and that's also one of the other things I want to hit on today. Um, Donald, you still here? I don't know if he's muted or not. Hey, Rico.
Yeah. I'm still here. Let me turn this off so that I won't be both places at one time. Because I have joined or tried to make an attempt to join the live. And I don't know how that's working out. Mm, I got an echo because I probably shut it down. How about that? Look, I don't have to be involved in everything, and I can't let everything bother me, especially when I don't have anything to do with it. That's what makes the world go around. We're
Uh,
different. That's what makes it work. Our
Why?
difference actually makes it work. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, your statement. Um,
Okay.
my question back to that is, you're a minister, right?
Okay. What that got to do with
So
you?
I enjoy a lot of your
Hey,
opinions and things like that, and some of them I agree with, and I've made them into some of my own personal truths based on what you said or
of
your
course.
opinion of certain things. I decided to make it a part of some of my personal truths by you just interacting with me and sharing your opinion on and views of the world. So to me, you had an influence in my life because it's something I agreed with that you shared.
Understood. But what I mean, what in that, in even in that, you have to sift out the truth of what I say
Yeah, because
because
not everything you
some
say
of it
is
don't
mine.
apply. Some of it don't apply to you, even if you agree with it. I don't know if that even makes sense because
It
we're
does to
different.
me.
At some point, as we travel through life, you have to make your own path. Take the truth. We're sifters through life. If you know what a sifter is, it's kind of like you take the flour and you take what you need and you move about what is not good and you take the good and separate it from the bad and go on. And that's what I've learned to do through life because take for instance this. You call it, um, how do you refer to the spirituality of your life? How do you refer to it?
The spirituality of life.
Of
We
you, you. I'm talking about you. When you think of the creator or nature or godliness, I say Christianity, for
mhm.
instance. How do you relate to it in your life?
I am a spirit living a human existence in a creation that the Great Spirit
Exactly,
created.
exactly. So you can take what the positive of my walk of life, Christianity, and walk in your spirituality, and we can walk together and agree at some point, not totally, and still continue to walk in union.
Agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If more people can do that, the world would be a better place.
Man, that's a lot to overcome overnight. Um,
Not an
Rico.
overnight thing.
Oh yeah, it's not an overnight thing. Rico, I don't know what all you heard today, man.
Nah, I just started listening, man. I'm trying to hang in. I think I'm going through that little Omicron stuff for real. I've been sort of down since Sunday.
Oh,
You can't really tell, but it's like off and on. So you know what I'm saying. I just got on a second ago.
well, the
I think
topic for
I heard one part where y'all talking about the ocean polluting the ocean and stuff like that.
yeah, we were talking about the topic that for the show today is respecting the spirit within, and we were talking about like the different viewpoints and stuff like that. You know, Leonard, do you want to repeat what you were saying about the ocean bum? So I
Well,
don't. Mm,
basically, I was thinking about different causes and things like that. And one of the examples that I used was, the ocean, for instance. Yes, I have certain feelings about the ocean and what we need to do to protect it. However, it does not, there's a balance that I have to where I don't allow that type of thing to consume my existence. But being concerned about a thing is different from being obsessing over a thing and thinking that you have to bear that particular burden. And mine was more as keeping it in a perspective when it comes to respecting spirit and things like that. We have in common being human beings. So I generally will respect other human beings because of that likeness. And he was talking about spirit that way
Mhm.
because we have that in common. We're human beings. We may not like everything about one another, but one thing is for sure, we're human beings.
Right, right, right.
And we interact with different things on different levels. But it's not to allow one thing to consume the other.
like Leonard's very aggressive. I'm very passive. Up until you press the wrong button.
Yeah, I was agreeing. That's why I was, when he said that, he pretty much came back with the words I was thinking about when I heard him. Because the thing is having the ability to understand the difference between passion and obsession. You know, and then when you start saying about respecting, I want to say appreciating the spirit. You know, the to me the spirit has a lot to do with the conscience, and also the connection to everything living, pretty much. You know, that's why I'm passionate myself about the environment. I'm passionate myself about human beings using fossil fuels, but at the same time, we know what effect the fossil fuels are having on this planet. Um, I'm passionate about it, but I'm not obsessed. I'm passionate enough to know that I will try my best to um, contribute the least amount possible and leaving my footprint into the detriment of this atmosphere. So I'm not gonna beat everybody up for using gasoline. I'm not gonna wake up every day and say, "Man, we stupid. We out of order. We using gas. We using gas. We smoking cigarettes. We drinking alcohol." I'm not gonna do that, but I am gonna take the opportunity to make people aware of it when they ask the questions of what is wrong, if that is the answer. But the thing is if we did appreciate or respect the spirit, then there probably would be no pollution. There probably would be no bullying because like Leonard said earlier, we share something in common. This experience, this thing we call life, this experience, man. Imagine what it would be like if you wasn't here. Imagine if what it would be like if your parents didn't have you. So you know how precious this experience is. It is just as precious for the next person when you look into their eyes. The children and the adults and the elders and the grown people that you see, the homeless people that you see in the street, and you wondering why they live in the way that they're living. You still got to understand that they're living in this same experience, sharing the same experience that we are. And once in a lifetime experience is that. So I have enough respect for the appreciation of life, not only my own but everybody else's, to the point to where I would have enough respect for others not to bully them or abuse them or oppress them. I try my best to be as fair as I can because I, I think about it like this: how would I feel if that was me in their shoes?
Yeah, sounds like the golden rule to me.
To
You
some, it
know,
should. It is.
and that's one of the reasons I decided the topic was what it is today, because it a lot of this stuff isn't just about helping other people. It's also, you know, discussing an awareness that one human being can affect those that are around. You can one person, in my opinion, can affect an entire community, be it for good or bad. And then when a group of like-minded people get together, they can make a huge amount of change. And it just feels like a lot of people have forgotten that they can do that. Um, what do you think of that, Leonard?
Well, I do believe in that one. I mean, like-minded people can get together and do anything. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, if two people are like-minded, they can do something. And what I'm noticing is that the world now is ready to embrace the fact that they had it all wrong. They had it all wrong. They were so wrong and so heinous that now it must be fixed. And that now, one, we can tell good people from bad people and we can call them out. But the problem is that now more people are realizing that there's a lot of bad people and they have too much power. So I think that one, that part that says, "Hey, I don't think nobody should be oppressed." There's enough people now speaking about that oppression and taking responsibility for destroying this white supremacist notion of oppressing everything. That's huge. It's huge that people are forsaking just hanging out with these types of people now and saying, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with that. You can't say that about these people around me. So it's good that I see a lot more people stepping up. I see a lot of change. And when I look at those, that media from the past, I can truly say humanity has evolved.
I definitely feel like things are shifting for the better. It's just
Yes,
it's not an overnight thing though.
right. And so that, you don't get bogged down in about, people are, what we can't do and all this. One thing I know is my people are used to oppression. and we know how to overcome oppression. We know how to fight it. And then there's a lot of people now are just realizing that I should have been about this the whole time.
Yep.
I should have been about. Maybe I would feel better if I was just a little bit more righteous. Maybe if I spoke up a little bit more in the workplace. If you white, when you see somebody black being treated bad, you should say something. It shouldn't. You shouldn't just, yeah, that ain't mine. I'm white, so I should know. You should say something because it's not right.
That's how I've made a lot of people mad.
Right, and that's what makes evil people mad is when you insist on righteousness. And the evil people can't help but show their colors then. And then you should know what side of this fight you should be on.
Yep. See, I agree with that. Hey, Donald's even on cam. Um, what's your viewpoint, Donald?
If we can remain who we are, one thing about people, mm, they're consistent regardless to, and let me. I hope I wish I could explain what I'm thinking about. See, this pandemic has exposed a lot of people. Now we know people for who they are. If you want to talk, if you want to find out how people really feel, mention two things because you'll have a fallout: religion and politics. They're passionate about those. But then in those two things, it'll point out that we're different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to fall out because you are a certain way. Now I done got sidetracked some kind of a way because I'm kind of trying to fit into the conversation and not necessarily. Let me tell you what I thought about when you was talking.
Go ahead.
I
You know
and
I'm open-minded.
I mentioned this before. I think I did in another setting. I tested I tested positive about it earlier this week, and I'm the type of person that I don't go in and out of your house, and you're not coming in and out of mine. That's just the way that I live. So, because I am ill in a way, it was suggested that to kind of be an assistant to me, they would come to my house and leave something to help me on my doorstep. Wait a minute. You changing the way I think just because I'm ill. Don't use my weakness to infiltrate your ideas or thought pattern in my life. No. Thank you. I appreciate you. Now you offended because I told you or I reminded you that I don't have people at my house. You think that because at my weakest point, I'm going to um, alter the way that I think so that you can feel better about yourself and say, oh, I helped him when he was down. No, you didn't.
Where
And
were
now that
you?
may be cruel to some people,
Mm.
but that's just the way that I am. I don't mean no harm.
Well, see, I don't view that as cruel because to me that lets you know how a lot of people are because they think though when you were strong and you, let's say like me and you decided to do a foundation or something to raise up money for kids or food for the homeless or something, and they don't show up,
Right.
but they're going to show up for you just because you're sick at your house. Where were they then?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, basically, you're right. That's exactly how I feel. And some people want to shine and help, shine and help. That's not the way help works. You just help consistently. not when it's convenient for you.
Yeah,
And so, anyway,
I understand that wholeheartedly because I'm getting to be that way right now because there are people that think because I think so differently than what most people are used to that they think very evil of me, and they'll speak to my wife, but they won't speak to me at all. And
you good.
what do you mean good?
You better than me.
I
Because then,
don't see how I'm better than anybody.
well, that may
I
be
just do things
well.
differently. That's all.
That's a yeah.
Because
Because you know,
we said earlier, different strokes for different folks. You know what I'm saying? People handle disrespect differently. I guess different levels of respect or disrespect. Because those would be that probably would be one of the situations where I would get out of character too. You gonna speak to my wife or speak to my significant other and then not speak to me? Man, if I don't say nothing to you right there, man, I might say something next time because it ain't just gonna boil over, just blow off my shoulders that easy. Because that's a significant sign of disrespect. You know, people want to, you know, like Lona was saying, you know, when people come to help, you don't do it for the shine or the recognition. Just do it because it needs to be done. But at the same time, acknowledge me when I'm in your presence. Don't acknowledge everybody around me and then all of a sudden, I don't deserve acknowledgement. I'm a living, breathing human being sitting right here in your face. You might have a problem with me. You might not like my views or my opinions. But what you're not going to do is act like I'm beneath even being acknowledged in a respectful way, you know. But now I take that back. It might be some situations where I run into somebody and I have so much disdain for them that I could care less. I might not speak to them on purpose. But at the same time, I'm going to expect whatever comes with that because I intended to let them know from the very beginning, I don't like you. And this is I dislike you so much that I'm gonna speak to everybody but you. And that's the reason why it will be hard for me to actually be quiet when it happens to me because I know just putting myself in other people's shoes. If I did that to somebody else, I meant intentionally to let them know that I didn't have any respect for them.
Well, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Um, so my wife, we've been married for 10 years. So she's married to an autistic adult that has very much, I have a routine that I mentally have to keep because if I'm not able to do my routine, it will literally mess me up because it's just how my brain functions. You with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
I have sound sensitivities, light sensitivities, a lot of stuff that I guess is the stereotypical viewpoint of an autistic person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're on the outside looking in, would you think that I'm controlling my wife or manipulating my wife because I have these needs, because of the way my brain functions?
I mean, nah. That would be hard. That would be hard to say that. I mean, it would have to be more of a sinister behavior. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people can be manipulative to the point to where they want all the attention, but they're not controlling. They're just manipulative for the attention. But now you have some situations where somebody is trying to control their spouse's every movement, their being. They want to know everything that's going on. They want to make sure whatever that wife or that husband does is not done unless they benefit from it or they know what's going on. So I wouldn't look at it that way because you can really observe enough. I feel like if you're on the outside looking in, you should take the time to observe enough to see if this person is really dependent because they need to depend on this person like this, or if they're doing that just because they don't, because they just want to, you know.
So, if they are dealing with trauma or came from like a traumatic relationships where they were abused and things like that, would
Mm-hmm.
it be easier for them to look in that perspective of thinking that things are going in a negative manner?
You said,
Even yeah,
would it be easier? Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was negative if it came from a place of trauma. I wouldn't say it was negative. That's your coping mechanism. You get
Well,
what I'm saying?
no. I'm saying the person on the outside looking in. They're looking at things through eyes of trauma because of their traumatic experiences.
Or they
So,
prejudge them based off of.
trauma.
Okay. Well,
So
I mean
should
that
I be hateful towards them or accepting them for where they're at?
uh depends on, I guess, if you knew or not. If you know that that's where
Hmm.
they're coming from, I mean I really can't say if you should hold that against them or not. Because I mean, one thing about it, if somebody is naive to something and don't understand, you really can't hold it against them. If they don't aren't aware of the facts or the true factors of what's going on, the ins and out of the details, then you really can't hold that against them. So they would have to know, like I said, if they misjudged you based off of what they knew because they didn't know all the details of what was going on with you, to a certain extent, you can't blame them. But that goes back, to the point that where you shouldn't really judge people until you know all the details.
Respecting the spirit within.
Badger.
Yes, sir.
Um, that's one reason why I am like I am, because what goes, it's kind of, they have nothing to do what goes on under my roof. What is working in your life is the fact that you and your wife has functioned very well for at least 10 years,
I still
regardless
don't
of
know how she did it.
where you was involved in it.
Dealing with my
You
autism.
had to play a part. You still there. See, sometimes we don't see ourselves as we really are. I'm working on something right now that it's kind of like saying, who am I that even God would consider me to do anything? Oh, so what I'm saying about that is, if you can see yourself, even not only as others see you, but even as the Creator has made you, because you're unique, and that's what makes this, how even significant as you even might see yourself, you're a part of what makes this world go around, because you're in it.
Yeah, no, I
And
feel bad
you,
for it too.
just like everybody else, are made in his image and in his likeness, uniquely as he has designed you, without anybody else. I'm talking about you. Everyone in this world plays a significant part of the world's function. Everybody. I don't
Hmm.
care if they uh drunk as Cooter Brown or crazy as a Betsy Bug. You're important. And the reason what's wrong with society is we want to exclude everybody rather than using what the qualities that people have and help each other function a little bit better.
Hmm.
I'm just saying. But then
Leonard.
sometimes, and I say this and I shut up, and I ain't gonna say
All
no
right.
more. Sometimes we're too concerned about other folks in our lives. Who cares what anybody has to say about you and your wife's relationship? It's between y'all. Ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. I would
Well,
almost, if it wasn't for the setting, say to hell with what they think.
and that's the thing. Where we used to be, I used to care about what other people said so much that it drove me crazy. If someone called me a control freak or a manipulator or anything, I would psychoanalyze myself, go to counseling and stuff, going, am I really this way? Because I weighed what other people thought of me so much that I literally would allow it to control everything I said and did. which kept me from being on shows like this or talking to people or being open about how I view the world. Um, and then I met y'all crazy people and overcome some of my trauma. And I mean that in a positive way, not in a bad way. Um, you know, and with my wife's support, now I'm doing my own show segment. So but because of my experiences, I respect the fact that there are other people that have gone through similar things as I have, if not worse than I have, when it comes to trauma and things like that. So for me to sit there and be hateful towards someone because they assume something that they don't understand because they haven't took the time to really get to know me, to me that's sending negative energy towards them for a reason, for no other reason than just being mad or upset because they have a different viewpoint. Leonard, what do you think about all this, bro?
Just listening, there are other people who suffer trauma in different ways or what have you. We address the issues in our community, in the African American community. There are African American community, excuse me. There are many young boys who are on the spectrum for autism who are never afforded the diagnosis of such. And one thing about our community is we don't make excuses for anyone. You're expected to behave a certain way. And a lot of times, if you get out of line, in the African American community, there's always someone there to check your behavior. So you may have a person, and we will say, yeah, he a little strange, but he all right. He may not read as well as you, but he all right. He may
Yeah.
ask you a couple questions, but he all right. But what we're not gonna do is give you a pass. We're gonna make you tough.
See, I can't, man. I hate that giving her past stuff because I'm
Yeah.
like, you're
We
not. That's not helping me learn how to process my emotions. That's not like, how are you being respectful to me by just letting me do whatever I want? That's not teaching me how to be in society.
and see this is what I think a lot of people what is so different and what we have had to do as African Americans within our culture. We have had to always reinforce the value of one another to one another. So if you got a little boy that's limping, guess what? He's just a little boy with a limp. Before you know it, he gonna be your friend, and the limp not gonna matter. If everybody ain't born with straight legs and look like you and act like you, but they still human beings,
Hmm.
and so we treat them as such. Which means, guess what? If you cut up, you gonna get cut up. If you talk about something, you gonna get talked about. Everybody ain't gonna like you. Everybody ain't gonna agree with what you say because you got a limp. You got some guys walking around here can't talk, can't read, but they the baddest gang member in the neighborhood. So we don't use those things to get over on one another. Because to us, we're always trying to look like we better if we ain't if we know we ain't. We always got our sometimes we walk around with our chest stuck up about stupid stuff that don't make no sense to nobody. You got some cats walk around the hood think they all that because all they wear is polo. Matter of fact, he don't change his name and people call him Polo. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Golly.
Leonard. I'll do like Soldier Boy. I was the first rapper to have an iPhone in my video. Me.
Anything.
Ay, ay,
It
ay.
doesn't even matter. Pick something. Pick
Now,
something. You pick
I
something. Even if you that guy with that limp and you in the
so
hood, you pick something that makes you something more than that limp.
right. And for people listening, the reason we're kind of touching on the autism and stuff is because I'm no longer afraid to share my experiences anymore. And since I can't speak for anyone else because it's my experience, why not use my experience as a teaching tool for others? So I don't mind talking about it. So if anyone's thinking the show's only talking about me, I'm a very visual person. and I have my experiences. I don't know what Leonard's experiences are other than what he tells me, or Donald's, or Rico's, or anyone else's. So I use my life experiences to tell a story of trauma, of success, of overcoming struggles or battles. You know, I used to be a very suicidal human being, but when I finally understood respecting the spirit within, I finally realized that whatever I did to myself, I was hurting other people inadvertently because they were sitting there watching me be a drunk. They were sitting there watching me be hateful toward myself. What was that teaching the people that were around me? And it changed my mentality to be responsible for my actions because people observing are going to think certain things. And yes, it's just as much their responsibility for how they view it. But to me, I held myself responsible because of the spirit within me that is of creation that was made, you know, by great spirit, the blessing of life. So I started to live differently, look at things differently, see things differently. I don't want I cry all the time because of being aware of the fact that people deal with so much toxicity and hatred and judgment for being different. Not just because they're a different race, but for all kinds of things. And to and it's so much of a blessing to hear that there are still communities that uplift the people that are different. And that's what we need across the board, not just here or there, but across the board.
I think also we have to beware of the fact that it must be balanced.
Hmm.
It must be balanced. Even people with certain disabilities are completely capable of doing other things. Say, for instance, you can't walk no more. Well, you may not be able to run track, but you can still run business. You can still do anything else you want to do. That don't make you no less valuable than anyone else. It's just that what do you have to bring? And this is one of my things as far as ministry to African American people is that you are the product of a resilient group of people who have fought every single day of their lives for what they want and what they have. So why would you? It has to be you making you feel like you're less than because you're not. Like when some people say, you know, I know one thing me and Rico differ on is the whole notion of brainwashing. Whereas one, this thing I talked about how we were raised in the hood, I'm bigger and better than anything you got to say. It don't matter what you say about me. I am who I am. Matter of fact, we can do what you want to do to prove it. So one, just because somebody else came around saying something, it didn't matter much as what I had told myself already. Self-esteem lets me know ain't nothing Badger can tell me that should make me feel less than Badger.
Hmm.
And for the
Yeah.
same fact, like one, our children, think about had viewed the attention where we see in education, where 504 protects those students who have these disabilities. And we have watched them take young white boys and make excuses for them and coddle them and everything else, but do nothing for the black boys. Call
Yeah.
them call them behavior problems. When you have a whole program here to assist and help them, knowing that he seems like he's on the spectrum. Let's get him tested. Let's modify how we teach him, and then maybe we can change that behavior. See, that's a big difference. There are a lot of people in prison right now way more autistic and less functioning than you.
Oh, for sure.
But no one never even cared.
Well, and that's the thing. Like me growing up, all I ever got diagnosed was ADHD and here's some Ritalin,
Right.
and then I just learned maladaptive skills. Teachers were like, "You're really smart. You have a high IQ,
Exactly.
but however, you're not able to write." Hold on. Sorry. Um, I'm not able to write an essay or a paper because I don't grasp grammar. I struggle being able to pronounce words and all kinds of things like that. There are certain things that my brain struggles extremely difficult with. I still do my best to do things, but if you sit me down with machinery and give me time to just sit there and figure it out my own way with the way my brain works, I can make all kinds of stuff. But I've never been given the opportunity.
And see, that's the thing
And trying to
about it.
do things like that, it is really expensive.
I've seen people, and Rico probably can witness. I've seen people with far less education than you. Can't put words together, but can amass a certain amount of money hustling on the street corner that you wouldn't even be able to imagine.
Oh yeah,
Because
and
they had to. They learned to survive in these streets.
which is
And
the
so,
same thing that I've had to learn.
right. So I think we should work more on teaching people how to adapt, even working with education. And you come up with, even in corporate America, in performance evaluations. And if I say you're not performing, I should also be providing some type of development plan for you. And too many times we don't understand how important it is that these development plans are needed. For what's good for one student may not be good for the next student. Like, say, for instance, holding you back. I heard this one preacher say, y'all probably seen it online. Kiss my black past.
That's funny.
I think it's one of the best phrases I've heard in so long. Because you so worried about what I used to be, what I used to do, what I can. You know what? Kiss my black past.
That ain't good.
Um,
That ain't good.
well, we are running really close at times, so I want to get Rico and
That's a
Donald's
short.
opinion. Which
I
one of y'all
got
want
you
to go
that
first?
time, Donald. I'm good. Y'all be blessed. I gotta go.
All right,
All right,
man.
Leonard, be blessed, bro.
I like that when I saw Donald posted that yesterday too. I think that's
Oh
good.
man,
Yeah, it was good,
That's a
Donald.
that was
good
good.
quotation, but I don't think it's good for a pastor to play on that in church like that. I think
Shoot.
that's almost the slick way to almost try to come up with a bump and grind remix.
Oh dear.
You know what I'm saying? That's a door, what you call a gateway. You know what I'm saying? Once you open up Pandora's box and start letting little stuff like that in, before you know it, they'll have somebody stripping and twerking for Christ. So that's how that happens. But cause I saw the post you made on it yesterday. I agree with you totally. That I don't think that belonged in the church at all.
No.
But it was
Oh
slick.
man.
It was slick. Um, Leonard said something key, man, and I was actually I've been sitting on it since I came on here. We, especially black people, have not been known to take lemons and make lemonade. You know what I'm saying? We've taken the tails from oxes and the chitlins from pig intestines and the feet off a chicken. And now all of a sudden the world wants that cuisine. And it's expensive. At one point in time, you could buy a chicken wing. You could almost get it free. They would throw them away just about. Now chicken wings cost more than the thigh and the breast. Just think about how everything adapted. But see, that mindset that the world grasped onto, we took that waste. We took that waste and said, well, you know what? We're going to make it steak. We're going to take these little chicken wings and we're going to make it just as good as steak.
Nothing goes to waste.
Now, all
Chitlins
of a
are
sudden,
good.
come Super Bowl Sunday, you can't find a chicken wing. One point in time, somebody was too good for the chicken wing. One point in time, somebody was throwing the oxtail away. We'll let them niggas get it. Now you can't go buy oxtail. It's expensive. So, I mean, we made lemons out of lemonade, and we have to understand human beings, period, to look at us for example. As a matter of fact, I don't think most black people do realize A lot of human beings do look at us for example. They look at us and they say, man, you know, they still here. Look at this culture, this thing they call hip hop. We didn't even want to let them in the door with it. And now every commercial you turn on is hip hop everywhere. Hip hop in Japan, hip hop in Australia. Hip hop ain't even got a color no more. It's just universal. So the thing is everybody has some value.
Mm-hmm.
What it boils down to, you have some value somewhere. You take those lemonade, you take that lemon and you take those scraps and you make it taste as good as lemonade and watch everybody come want a little bit of it.
Donald?
I think that's the point. Be great, just as you are. You may think that you are a toss away, scrap, but if you turn that table around, let time come about. The very thing that is tossed away, people are giving their right arm for it.
Yeah.
Same way with us as individuals. If you look at the quality of yourself, suppose they might not think much of it.
Yeah.
That was yesterday, but look at it today. That's about it.
So for my closing statements for today, you know, go do some research on what the spirit within can mean from different perspectives. Find your personal truth and be aware of your actions and words in every moment that you're given and how it can affect those that are around you. May you be blessed in life. We'll catch you next week.